big movers in our movement as far as advancing our movement and libertarianism that for the past many decades. So, Larry, thank you very much. I'm a business person, and I give some thought to these things in the libertarian movement and whatnot. And the topic is very interesting to me. But I wrote it last night, and so I'll read most of it, but a couple of ideas before that. Technology is very important. I'd like to try to make a point of that. So technology on one side, and people's mental model on how they relate to other human beings in all aspects of their lives is the other thing that drives humanity. Technology is interesting. Everybody hear about, well, there's a big demand for computers, a demand for these clothes, a demand for cars. Anybody heard about that? And demand changes all the time, right? My perception is that demand never has changed. So let me explain that. I believe there's I call it 8 essentials of human beings. So people want food, people want clothing, people want to be housed, people want to travel, people want to communicate, people want to be entertained, educated, and take care of their bodies, health care. How long has it been when the demand for food has changed? How long has it been when the demand for clothing and protection from the weather has changed? How long? I mean, has that changed in the last 1,000 years? It's different. What's different about 1,000 years or 2,000 years ago versus today? There's a saying on the top of the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. Anybody been there? There's a rotunda, and the saying in there is, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but science discovers the laws of nature. Industry applies those laws to the benefit of mankind. So what's changed is technology, our understanding of how the world works. So food, we've learned a lot about food. They learned a long time ago that maybe cooking or heating food helps in digestion. But then along the ways, many things have changed. Transportation. So what's changed is technology, not the need for the desire for transportation, but how we transport ourselves. And what is that? It's technology. It's applying technology to these 8 essential demands we have. So I think technology is a major driver of social progress, of human progress. And of course, it's a little nicer to be able to protect ourselves from the weather and have the benefits that we have today because of that technology. It helps us advance our happiness and our flourishing. So I think technology is extremely important. So I want to walk through a few things here. The key points I'm trying to make is that advanced technologies require greater personal responsibility for them to be responsibly utilized and advanced. So personal responsibility is a big deal for technology advancing. 2, some technology decreases personal responsibility of its own doing on the part of majority of people. So we have to watch out. Technology can be used, like nuclear power can be used for good and for bad. Fire can be used for good and for bad. So you have to watch out how things are used. Thirdly, the concept and operation of governments decrease personal responsibility. The concept and operation of governments necessarily decrease human happiness and flourishing, and thus this social institution must be eliminated to continue to advance new technologies. So what kind of society do we all want to live in? What do we really want? So I take it that we desire a society composed of persons, of a high degree of personal responsibility in respecting our person and our property and that of all others. So technology provides us with the desired greater material wealth, which in large part enables greater happiness and the opportunity to flourish. So in addition, what we want is, it says we like a rewarding environment which includes persons who have strong capabilities, character, health, and integrity. We'd like that other people to respecting us. We just like an environment where other people are competent, not decrepit, want them healthy, and want to be in an environment where we can enjoy our lives and see other people enjoying their lives. So it'd be great to have persons, if persons were considerate of others, in many ways, including taking personal responsibility for their family, friends, and associates in their community. So I believe all of this requires a high degree of personal responsibility. So number 1, advanced technology requires greater personal responsibility for it to be responsibly utilized and advanced. It cannot be responsibly utilized. It'll be banned. either through the marketplace or through governments. Nuclear power is a perfect example. It's a great technology, but people just don't understand it, and so they're fearful of it. And so it's been, the last 30, 40 years, it's been muffled, and progress has not been made. We're maybe seeing a resurgence in nuclear technology now, but it's been muffled for a long time because it's basically been feared and banned. People don't feel it's responsibly handled. So I define technology as hardware and software which leverages human effort. And that's how I define technology. It leverages human effort. So in this definition, a truck hauling tomatoes, I'm in the tomato business and I started driving a truck. A truck hauling tomatoes 30 miles with one truck driver displaces about 50,000 persons, depending on what you assume to be how many tomatoes you can carry in your hand 30 miles with or without the technology of shoes. So today's computer technology has nowhere this leverage. Nowhere this leverage. So what currently is called high tech is really new tech. It's new technology. But the point is what that definition is. It leverages human effort. A bicycle is a computer is a bicycle for the brain. So much new technology makes a key element of economic progress much more efficient. The movement of information, the holding of information, the movement of information, and analysis that enables us to make very fast, deep analysis is enabled by having that information quickly available. So it enables us to trade stocks and raw products, as well as international logistics, and 100 more examples of how technology really advances our lives. So it's responsible for major economic progress. Farm tractors, people think about this, and we got young guys at our company, and they're all hot to come to, should I go to Silicon Valley and I can earn $250,000? Well, you're going to pay about, $6,000 a month for the rent over here, whatever else. But what I tell them is, this new technology, frankly, is worthless. This box, where's the computer there? The box is worthless. What it does is hold information and it transfers information. So its value is actually applying that new technology to the older technologies. For example, when I was driving a truck, the miles per gallon was 4.5. Today it's over 7 miles a gallon. The engine technology, a little bit, but the computer technology is put into that as far as the timing of how that engine works. And just when things within the engine works is responsible for the massive improvement in this fuel economy. Just how much fuel has been saved, how many trucks are out there. It's a huge amount of fuel that's been saved because of this technology. So behind the scenes, these technologies of information and communications are phenomenal as far as what they've done for humanity and their material well-being and usually improving people's happiness and flourishing. So technology really moves the world and advances human well-being, but social concepts are equally important. Social concepts being, how do I relate to another person personally, socially, commercially, spiritually, and politically? So there's different aspects of our lives and how our mental model works on how we should treat each other and what we should do vis-a-vis each other. So however, these technologies which save time and effort cut two ways. Just like nuclear power can cut one way, destruction, and it can be very beneficial. So first, those who have the curiosity and drive to produce more with the same amount of work increase their productivity and economic value. They use this technology to advance further and further their capabilities and what new things they can discover. However, second point, the same technology decreases personal responsibility of its own doing on the part of a majority of persons. Most persons utilize that same increased efficiency to produce the same output with less effort. So letting technology do the work decreases personal responsibility for doing the work. We've recently seen this in the research on the AI, on looking at how people using AI versus those not using AI and their actual mental capabilities. Our mental activity is decreased by like 20% or something when using AI. Their mind gets lazy. So from roller bags and escalators, cars that almost drive themselves, smartphones that track everything for you, and automation can take care of everything. So putting in less mental and physical effort decreases one's capabilities and character. So why do restaurants today, they take your phone number and maybe your credit card? Why? Because 20 to 30% of people make reservations at a restaurant don't show up. What sense of responsibility is that, and how do you run a restaurant? It's hard. I don't remember, but 30 years ago, these things didn't happen. You get the dentists and doctors calling you 2 or 3 times. You're going to show up, going to show up, going to show up. That didn't happen 30 years ago. So what's happening to people's sense of personal responsibility? So whether it's obesity or lower educational achievement, a staggering amount of persons on welfare and homeless. I think I read the other day talking about this food stamps that 5.5 million people are on food stamps in California. 5.5 million. So social media decreasing people's the ability of persons to personally relate to other human beings because they're relating to each other on this phone so much. Persons living with their parents after college, marrying later, not having children, are all indications, in some cases, of less capabilities and character and less personal responsibility. People making choices, it's their choice, that's great, but I don't know about this. So the internet and communications technologies have more information available to everybody with a computer or a smartphone. Even prior algorithms, let alone new AI software, can answer questions such as how to make an atom bomb, how to make and use biological products to contaminate a city's water system, and readily available to young and old. So the information and understanding of how things work, good or bad, is readily available to many, many people. So it's the sense of a personal responsibility that's going to make the difference whether they're used for good or for bad. So making up fraudulent stories and representations of other people with look-alike photos and moving pictures can destroy reputations in a heartbeat. So another element driving less personal responsibility is our social system of state and governments and ramifications. So the concept of state is most of you are familiar with this. Concept of state is a geographical area, defined a geographical area, in which some folks have the monopoly on the use of force to get to reach their objectives or their end goals. So governments come in many forms: feudalism, socialism, dictatorships, democratic republics, democracies, to effectuate the concept of a state. The different governments have different rules and processes for organizing and determining who has what power. So all government laws ultimately backed up with guns. Isn't that interesting? We have guns used out there, and that's terrible, it's terrible, terrible. Our basic social system, politics, is based on guns. So the citizenry buy into the concept of governments as they concede that it's good for them, given the promises of protection and being taken care of in many ways. So all governments end up trying to provide the majority of citizens with free services and products such as free health care, roads, health insurance, police, fire protection, retirement, medical benefits, unemployment benefits. Government's going to take care of everything. So these are required to keep majority of citizens satisfied and or obtain votes in democratic governments. But what are the ultimate consequences of this system, this social system? So when citizens accept these short-term or perceptively long-term benefits, the responsibility for caring for themselves shifts to the abstraction called government from themselves. This necessarily decreases a sense of personal responsibility on the part of citizens taking those benefits. So a person then doesn't have to think about saving for the future or the future at all if they've got Social Security. So it shouldn't be amazing to me, but somehow it is when shootings occur in America, all I hear from politicians, intellectuals, or idea purveyors is that we need to eliminate guns, we have to have more laws, more police, and more jailings. Not one do I hear talk about advancing personal responsibility, which is the core issue. Not one. So I have a theory about social organization which directly impacts the concepts of states, governments, and personal responsibility. So first, to understand the difference between a natural principle and a personal principle. So people talk about principles a lot. And the Libertarian Party is the party of principle, right? Right, Mark? Got it. Okay. So what kind of a principle? So there's two concepts of a principle here. So natural principles are discovered in nature. They're not invented. So they describe a relationship between physical objects or events that are, there's a cause and effect relationship that's true over all time and all space. So we humans have zero ability to impact the outcome of if nature's conditions are met. Examples would be gravity and electromagnetism. If you have this situation in nature, the exact result will occur every single time. We can't change it. You want to get married or have a birthday on Saturday outdoors, and you go to city council to have the change, and no, going to be sunny on that day. Stupid. You can't do that. We don't affect nature's laws. Personal principles, there's a difference. So personal principles, and people use the term principle all the time without differentiating these, are statements which we decide to live by, such as eating vegan or brushing our teeth 3 times a day. But we can change those what we consider fundamental principles. We can change those. So the vegan can begin eating burgers, and one could decide to brush their teeth only twice a day and reestablish their personal principles, which is fine. But there are hundreds of these personal principles. So what I'm going to describe is a natural principle. I have 3 axioms. They're very easy. So I believe that people want to be happy, and it's universal. Fundamental driver in your life is to be happy. You're born 2 years old, 1 year old, 5 years old, and when I ask people of our ages here, 30, 40, 50 years old, my mission is to change the world. My mission is to be the greatest engineer in the world, et cetera, et cetera. But your mission to be happy, it drives every single decision you make throughout your entire life. Fundamental mission to be happy. Call it eudaimonia, call it pleasure over pain, call it whatever you want, a life of living your values, which Ayn Rand would say, a life of fulfillment. And it's genetically bound in our person. We're driven to flourish, to want to have a better situation at all times. That's what we're trying to do. Don't always get there. So secondly, that's what human beings want. So now from a social perspective, how do we relate to each other? And how should we relate to each other? Well, from a social perspective, when one experiences violence from another person, that's physical contact with an intent to harm, our happiness goes where? Goes down. Now, the key is how often. I mean, the 3rd time somebody on the street whacks you across the head, you're going to be maybe happier? Every single time, your happiness goes down. So this is, what's that? Some people like to fight. That's great on your behalf because you like to fight. Then what happens to for the victim? Well, they're less happy.
Both of them like to fight.
If both of them like to fight, then both of them are enjoying it. They call it boxing, and we have that, and that's a standard situation. Thirdly, so from a social perspective, again, one person acting vis-a-vis another, when one experiences the theft of their property, what happens to their happiness? So you walk out, we park the car, and we go to get the car, it's gone. Your immediate reaction is what? Less happy, the same, or you're happier. So again, your happiness goes down every time. So the key is every time. So logically, I find a relationship bound in human nature, bound in us, that human happiness will always decrease as persons experience the initiation of violence or theft of their property or time through force or fraud. So this is bound in our body, our nature. So as described above, the concept of a state and governments are defined as based on force and physical force as necessary. So if you got a social institution here that's based on force, and if you can recognize there's a relationship in nature that says force always decreases happiness, you cannot have this institution called the state or government and maximize happiness. It is impossible. So society based on human respect in all aspects of our lives. And all aspects means how we relate personally, how we relate socially, meaning people that we may not even see again in our lives, at the stewardess or the restaurant host or a waiter or waitress. We probably won't see them again, but yet people act very respectfully by and large. I mean, by and large, a huge amount. They wouldn't have taxis if everybody ran out of the taxi and didn't pay. You wouldn't even have taxis. So our lives, our social lives is dependent on that sense of respect. We go into a restaurant, we go into a social environment with an expectation, with an assumption, usually not a peer, but a gut assumption that everybody that they're going to contact is not going to harm them or steal from them. That's your fundamental assumption. So another aspect of life is our commercial life, our trading. Trading, capitalism, voluntary trade. I trade my coat for your shirt, assuming that's okay. Both people are happy, so thank you. Both people are better off. So when things are voluntary, both people are always better off. And that is the fundamental concept of capitalism. I define capitalism as the voluntary production and trade of goods and services. As simple as that. You don't have to get into business. You don't have to get into corporations. You don't have to get into capital at all. It's the voluntary exchange, production exchange of goods and services. That concept, abstraction of government is the coercive, forced production and exchange of goods and services. It's an abstraction. It's a concept. Society based on human respect in all aspects of our lives, with no state or government in existence, puts all the responsibility for our personal welfare on the individual. Recognize that. If you don't have this concept of government, who's responsible for your welfare? You. And when you talk about a safety net, there's only one thing. I listened to one debate that Ron Paul had, and Ron Paul was asked, well, how about the safety net, federal government you don't believe in? And I didn't like his answer. The answer is your fundamental safety net is, number one, your own capabilities and character, one. Number two, your family and your friends, associates that you may work with, and your local community. That's your safety net, and it starts with us as individuals and our capability to live in the world. So when all the responsibility for our livelihoods rests on our own shoulders, personal responsibility will flourish, and with it, greater personal capabilities, character, integrity, and charity. Getting back to technology, this is a major social revolution required to provide the environment for maximizing technological advancement. Like I said, humanity, I think, in its advancement is two major aspects. Technology, and technology really drives it. It's that fellow that traveled around the world in about 1400, Marco Polo. You think Marco Polo would have liked a cell phone? Even a smartphone? Naomi looked at me because I use a flip phone. But I left it in the car, Mike. But I do have this as kind of a backup, or when I take pictures or something. So the flip phone will do almost everything the smartphone does. But the smartphones now are just so much easier to use. But the kids are, you got a flip phone, it doesn't take pictures. Whoosh, takes pictures. So and it's messages and all this stuff. So we can get to virtually everything that an iPhone can. But iPhone's so much easier and so much faster and just so much better. So Marco Polo would have wanted a cell phone, right? Why didn't he have a cell phone? Larry mentioned it. All these elements, lithium, gold, copper, was it there in Marco Polo's time? In the ground? Was it there a million years ago? 2, 3, maybe a billion or 2. Maybe the whole 3.5 billion years of Earth's life. Or is it 4.5 billion? One of the two. 4.5? Okay, so all these elements have been here. What's the difference between Marco Polo's day and today? The understanding of how the world works, the understanding from science. And once you understand that, you have industrialists, call them entrepreneurs, business people, employing that knowledge for the benefit of mankind. And so technology really, really drives our world. But if we don't have a social understanding that we should respect each other in all aspects of our lives. And politics is simply just where, a politician says, I'm going to get you free health insurance. I'm going to bring you a new bridge, da-da-da. Harris, in her winning for the Senate, almost verbatim had in her little blurb the Voters Handbook, I can bring more to California than all my competitors. What does that mean? She's a better thief. That's what she says, and people are buying into that. So as long as this mental concept, that coercion, as long as we have majority vote, we can do anything we want in a democracy. And you're seeing that in New York right now today. People are getting so, maybe their lives are down. They want things for free. They want stuff. And this guy's come along saying, I'll give you all the free stuff. And that's when democracy really folds. Well, I guess what was the saying? When people discover that they can vote for a living instead of work for a living, we're done. So this is a big deal, how we want to relate to each other, and it impacts technology in a big, big way. Like I said, nuclear power is a perfect example. People couldn't understand it. They're fearful, and the technology withered. So for technology to advance, which is a huge aspect of humanity's advancement, we have to have that social factor where we believe in other people and respect other people in all aspects of our lives. Thank you.